Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Rites of Passage of iSurvivor 37 Port Royal. We are here with our three glorious finalists, Nolita, Taisha, and Zach, who've lasted 39 days here in the 37th installment. 36 groups of finalists over I don't even know how many years before you have all went through this similar experience. You're joining an elite club of fantastic Survivor players. So however this shakes out, everybody enters this game wanting to at least make finals, you know? And y'all were the three who did it this season. So pat yourselves on the back. This is a celebratory experience. So let's rewind time a little bit and delve back into the experience that was Port Royal. We're going to touch on your fallen comrades here, the 17 other players that unfortunately had to walk the plank for you to be here. Some of you may know some of the pre-jurors more than others, but obviously you have impressions of them or expectations that they may have met or not met. So yeah, just vocalize as much or as little as you like. We started the game, 2 teams, 2 ships, 2 crews, Blackbeard versus Calico. 10 crew members each. Everybody had a different role to play. We started out this war on the seas, and 3 days in, Anthony was voted out, fell victim. Let's start this with somebody who actually really, and not really knows Anthony because you only heard 3 days, but actually interacted with him somewhat. Taisha.
Oh my God, yes, Anthony. He came in, we were like, oh, he's a threat. He's a threat. And it was his very first org. And so I was definitely sad. That was like a hard tribal. Honestly, that was our first one we went to. And it honestly was so hard within that short time to even do that, because when everything started off, it did not seem like Anthony was going to go anywhere. Like, he seemed like he had this. So it was like a surprising, it was like a blindside. Like, we did a blindside the first vote. So I think, granted, if Anthony would have stayed, he probably would have been able to do some damage.
Nolita, what was your impression, opinion of Anthony, reaction?
I was surprised that he was the first to go. When I watched the Meet Me videos, he just seemed so into Survivor and like plans and strategies. And I really wanted to meet him. He really just seemed so passionate about it. Yeah, that's all I have to say, unfortunately, because I didn't get to meet him.
Thank you. And Zach?
I think he was the one, if I'm not mistaken, in his intro video was like saying how big of a Survivor super fan he was and everything. And even Calico was like, oh wow, like he's a big threat. He's a big threat. So then when we were notified that he walked the plank, Calico was like, oh my God, how did that possibly happen? Like that, like there's no way. Like there's no way. That man was a super fan. Like there's no way. And Bree was like, what I wouldn't give to have been a fly on the wall at that tribal council. And I was just like, okay, like I don't feel that strongly about this. But yeah, I don't know. He seemed like he'd be a threat if I ever got to the point where I'd have to interact with him, but that did not happen.
Definitely a shocking first boot, especially just like on paper. Threat, somebody going deep, knows what they're doing. In practice, hopefully he learned a lesson in his very first org because that was a blindside. This started the trend of Blackbeard losses. Second to walk the plank was the one and only Missy. We're going to do the same order here.
Queen, loved her. Honestly, was so sad to vote her out. It was like, honestly, we lost again, and we just like it was like one of those like group decisions that people just like latch onto just because she had made like one mistake, and it literally wasn't even like, it wasn't even that big of a deal. But I think people just latched onto that because it would have been like the easy vote. But she was a queen. I loved Missy so much.
Missy was another one I really wanted to meet. When she didn't play the harmonica, I didn't know if that was going to be the reason that I didn't get the chance to meet her. But again, her Meet Me video was so engaging. Wanted to be friends with her. Wanted to meet her. I wish I had that chance, and hopefully the reading.
I had seen Missy play in another game. I actually hosted her. So I was looking forward to potentially getting to play with her, because I just had that connection with her. Not that I knew her super well, but sadly that didn't happen. But the game that I am actually just starting, that is the reason why we were delayed tonight, she's actually in that game with me. So I was telling her about this, and I was like, oh, she's like, are you still in? I'm like, yeah, it's Final Four. This was like the other day. He's like, who's left? And I'm like, Jasmine, Alita, and Taisha. And she's like, vote out Taisha. She's like, she lied to me. And I was like, I was like, okay. So yeah, just funny lady. Said she left.
Oh, that's funny. Love hearing little stories like that. Missy, like everybody on Prod is like played or knows Missy. I was like one on Prod who doesn't ever play, really. I didn't know her, and I feel like I was like robbed of the opportunity of knowing the Missy. Yeah, but Blackbeard was savage. Oh, and that like started the trend of 30-year-olds being voted out, and I was like, no, because it did seem like Nay was gonna be next in the chopping block, but it wasn't. We had another Blackbeard blindside. Taisha, Bobby. Fucking Bobby.
Listen, Bobby is someone from the jump. I was like, I gotta get rid of this man. But like, it was just too hard to do at first. But when it came down to it, my girl Nay was up there. Nah, I'm sorry. Like, I could not let my girl Nay go. And we kind of got lucky that we had the 24-hour challenge. Kind of saved everything. Bobby, oh my God. Bobby honestly was so entertaining. And I feel like we would not have had the moments of Blackbeard without Bobby. Like, Bobby literally is like that person of the season for real. Like, we would not have had any of our moments if it wasn't for Bobby. So I will always appreciate that. But he had to go.
I feel like I missed out meeting Bobby. I wasn't part of the 24-hour challenge, so I didn't get to be part of the name change rivalry between JB and Bobby. I love hearing stories about him. And I really hope to meet him someday. And he has 9 water bottles on the wall. So exciting.
I also didn't compete in the overnight challenge. I think it's really funny that we were the ones to sit out, and we were like stressing that we were like missing out on making social bonds with everybody, and now here we are. So yeah, I just heard how Bobby was pissing everybody off, and how like all of Calico's fuck Bobby, like he needs to go. Like the second we hit merge or a swap, fuck Bobby, he's going. And then in my head, I'm like, honestly, I love Bobby, like just because of that, like he needs to stay. So then when y'all lost Asia, I said in my prod chat, I was like, honestly, I hope Bobby doesn't leave. And then they were like, Bobby left unanimously. I was like, okay. So yeah, I wanted to say, just because he was a target, it's funny. So but yeah, he seems like a character.
That is exactly what he was a character. He was only in the game for 9 days, but the impact he had on the dynamics of Blackbeard were so like ingrained in the Blackbeard that like the Bobby effect was like a continuous thing. Like I'll reveal more at the reunion and stuff, but like the Bobby effect is real. You will learn more about it. But yeah, unmatched energy, such a great person. Can't wait for Zach and Nolita to actually meet the Bobby of Blackbeard. Okay, twist thrown at y'all at this point in the game. Calico's on a high, 1-3 in a row. Blackbeard's like, oh, we got to win this one. We suck. And then we force you both to go to tribal. Calico's like, what the fuck? We didn't even lose. And Blackbeard's like, we didn't even get a shot to win. We are going to start with Megan. Taisha.
Again, like Megan was someone I really wanted to work with. And honestly was so sad because she wasn't there. But I'm telling you, if Megan was there online, Megan would have stayed. Again, to my personal benefit, it would have been like from the talks of it May had it not been Megan. So personally for me, I love Megan, but I was kind of happy, she was sleeping and didn't come because my girl Nate got to stay. But Megan's so sweet, like for real, honestly. And I was like so sad to see her go, and I really wanted to work with her. It was just my girl Nate, love her.
I was super excited to meet Megan. It's funny because my real name is Megan, because Nolita is my dog's name. And she was also the cook. And I just was like, we're gonna bond. And then she was gone. And I was so sad. So I'm really, again, it's someone I'm really looking forward to meet.
She seemed very lovely from her intro video. I feel like we could have gotten along well. Sad I didn't get to meet her. She sounded like she was in a really good position on the other tribe. So, sad that circumstances took her out that you probably shouldn't have, but happens.
Yeah, I was quite pleasantly surprised with Megan. She's super quiet, a little bit reserved. She's also one of those people who stepped out of their comfort zone to play this game. And seeing her adapt and be like as socially tied as she was, especially in those first couple tribal councils, I was like, oh, Megan's a dark horse. And then it went from 0 to 100 for her in like a split second. It was so sad. And then I did not scream at her, but scold her. I was like, Megan, don't you ever do that again. Cause like, I guess she saw it coming and she's like, fuck these people, I'm going to bed. But like, had she not done that, like Taisha said, I really do think she would still be, or not still be in the game, but wouldn't have been fourth boot. So Megan, love you. You were great. And moving on to our first Calico plank walk, the one, the only, life of the party, Venus. We're going to reverse order this. We'll start Venus with Zach.
Venus was so nice. We just didn't talk that much. I didn't know where she stood, and she wasn't very good at the challenges. So in a tribe where you don't know where anyone stands because it's your first vote, it was just kind of the easy option, which was sad, but it is what it is. I think there was some rumors and some kind of behind the scenes discussions of her staying, but nothing really ever came to me about it, and it just never had momentum from my perspective. But she was really lovely. It was sad to see her go, but she also didn't really try very hard to stay. In all honesty, she didn't push a name. She didn't try to tell me like not to vote for her. It just was what it was, unfortunately.
I actually did bond with Venus. We're the same age. I thought that there was going to be a bigger bond right away with her, but it was a little bit quiet. I think we had some later conversations. We have plans to make a spiritual app together. We're going to create this app for life journeys and life energies, and it's going to be amazing. And I loved her spirit. But there was a question of, there was a couple of other names that had come up, her and 2 other names that had come up, and the other 2 names were people I wasn't ready to let go. So I did have to go along with that. And I really wish that if like communication wise, she had been more engaged, because I really did love getting to know her. And I missed her when she left.
Okay. Venus, I really wanted to meet Venus. Me and Max and Livy used to joke about how like we would have to we wanted to put our palm up to like the screen so she could read our palms and everything. So we wanted to meet her. So I was really excited to see her go, because I definitely wanted her to read my palm and read into my soul. But yeah, I'm so sad to get to meet her.
Venus is obviously one of my favorites, another one of my recruits, and y'all already know how I feel about my recruits because I'm just bad at recruiting, casting. That's not my thing. And obviously or I mean, not obviously, for those who don't know, Venus is actually Val's sister. So she's really part of the I1 family. So all you who voted Venus out, you're gonna have to take it up with the sister after the season.
No worries, guys. I still love you. She loved y'all. She had fun. Actually, we still talked about the game after she got out, but she definitely enjoyed the time that she was in the game. And she knew that this was completely different for her. She never played or never watched any of these org games. So this is all new to her. But she did have fun and she loved you, Sandy. She told me to tell you.
Give her a big hug and a kiss for me. Oh, Venus, heartbreaking. So moving on from the double, it's just back to form with the story of the season. Blackbeard loses another critical challenge, and we said goodbye to Nay. Let's start this one off with Nolita.
Well, Nay was the only person in the entire cast who I had met before. We had played 2 orcs previously. We hadn't connected too much in those other orcs, but I was excited to see her. We were on different tribes, but I was really excited for Merge to come. So when she came back with the Jolly Roger twist, I was actually really happy. Like I just had a good time being able to like talk to her. We talked about like food and kids, and it was just wonderful just to see her. And I really wish that she had made the merge because I felt like we connected in a different way in this org. Yeah.
We'll move it on to Taisha.
First off, the worst eviction of the whole season. Disgusting, throwing up, crying, all that. I hated that one. Like that was such an ugly fucking, like just us losing. Like we were just destroyed mentally. Like we just could not get a win. Like then you had like that twist where it was a double. We didn't even have a chance to fight for safety. Like it was just so ugly. And at that point, like that's when I literally like felt like I was probably at my lowest in the game. But like honestly, Nate going was like, she's such a lovely person. I love her. I've been to her all the time. So she was definitely a big reason. Honestly, I would say like I was able to get through the game and I'm appreciative of her.
So Nay, Taisha's always spoken very highly about Nay. So when Taisha, brought Nay back, I was definitely pleasantly surprised and interesting getting to know her and getting to talk to her. We talked pretty much all day about glasses and prescription, which is so funny. But they're actually really nice conversations. She seems like such a nice woman, and she was an integral part of the vote flip that almost was, but wasn't, and later on in the game, of course. She seemed down to, just make a move and do something big, and I can respect that. And I'm sad it didn't happen, and I'm sad that I didn't get to know her for longer, but I hope I see her around.
So yeah, Nay was a recruit from like the same sphere as Bree and Nolita. Rocket recruited because he's a big player in Big Brother, the game app. And apparently there's like a Discord community or Twitter community where they all hang out and play their own like side games. So I was super excited just to get, new faces, people who haven't played this type of thing before. And, Nate did her thing. I was hoping she'd come back with the Jolly Roger with like these big fangs, but y'all were still playing like tippy toe at that point. It was hard for her to really do what she really wanted. But I give her effort for wanting to come back and seeking revenge. That's the queen. Love you, Nay. This is where things get a little interesting. the scavenger hunt challenge, and Blackbeard just goes ham. Calico kind of saw it coming, kind of tried, but didn't, or were sort of like, I don't know what the right word is, apathetic about the whole situation. Yeah, and then we lost King Mess himself, King Chaotic, Alex. Let's start this one off with Zach.
Well, in terms of the challenge was, anyone with eyes could see we were gonna lose that challenge. Like, that was so obvious. And Valiant and I tried to tell everyone else on the tribe, like, we don't really need to try. Like, let's not drink toilet water because like we're not gonna win. And Jazz and JB were like, no, like we gotta do it, like we gotta try, especially JB. JB spent like $50 on things for the challenge. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we're gonna lose. But I was more than fine with that because we just kept winning and I wanted to lose the whole time. Like, I wanted people out. I wanted to see where people stood. And as far as that round goes, it wasn't supposed to be Alex, but then Bree out of nowhere was like, I want to do Alex. And then Alex gets on, spirals out of control, blows up his own game. And I was like, oh, see ya, because, wasn't me, wasn't Alita, wasn't the other people I was working with. So I was like, and Alex was a lot. From our first call, he gave me I don't know, it was just we had really good personal conversations before our first call. Then we got on our first call and he was just like, game mode, game mode, game mode, like where do you stand, like kind of drilling me, like interviewing me. And I was just like, I'm not here for an interview, I'm not here for a job. So it was just like, it was just a lot. And I kind of was sketched out after that. I knew he was in some alliances with Jazz, and he was in alliance with Jazz and JB and Julia. That wasn't very real. I don't know, just the whole thing was just a lot. So I was just definitely like, I don't trust him, don't know where his it's not shade, it's not shade, it's the truth. Okay, it's the truth. We're here to talk about him, we're gonna talk about him. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop now.
So good. I think Alex would be the first one to admit he was. Yeah. Let's hop it over to Taisha, who wasn't on the same team as him, but knows Alex loosely.
Yeah, I know Alex from Twitter. Alex is iconic, and I was so happy to see him. And I'm mad we didn't get to play. He gave me that little power, like, he was trying to give me, stretch his hand out. So I was really I wanted to see him. And I'm so upset that he got taken out. I love chaos, so I wanted to see his little chaos. But honestly, I'm sad to get to play with Alex. I was interested to see how he played, so I don't really know how. I've never seen him in like an org. I usually see him like through Twitter games, so I am interested to see how he did.
Yes, the Skype call. I love money. Nolita, what's your thoughts and reflection on Alex?
Alex. So Alex was like, he was easy to read right away. I knew he was in probably 20 alliances just based on the fact that like our second conversation is like, I think you, me, and this person should be in an alliance. And I was like, whoa, buddy, let's slow down. But we had some really good personal talks. I actually, and he told me I was his number one. So that was fun. And I just enjoyed talking to him. We talked outside. Our first face call was him outside in like a storm with like wind blowing. He's like carrying his computer around. And oh my God, he was so much chaos and so funny. He was the one who tried to flip the vote, the first Venus vote. He came to me like 2 minutes before the tribal and he's like, I'm trying to get like this person to flip the vote around. I was like, that's probably too late. So he was funny and chaotic, but I knew just how easily he knew how to, he's like, oh, alliance chat, I'm going to call production. And it was just so fast and streamlined that he had done it many, many times before. He is the Seeker King. You guys weren't in that game, but he dominated that game. The chess one, he was so good. and so put together. And he was really a rock for me and Julia. He really was the most valuable player in that challenge. And as chaotic as he was, he was just such a lovely person. Like, just so much fun.
Love you, Alex. Miss you. You were actually robbed. And then we get to the fake merge, first earthquake, food chain, and then honestly one of the most crazy tribal councils / live nights of recent history, where just so much shit went down. But let's start with the first victim of those festivities, who was asked to walk the plank, Romeo. Let's start with you, Nolita.
Romeo. I love Romeo. I spent so much time talking to him about his dogs and my dogs, like hello Diva, hello Jogan, hello Polo. He was so much fun. He actually did send me the message about the power he was going to use, and I did not see it. So to this day, he probably thinks that I saw it and voted him anyway. Probably would have anyway. He was so much drama, but so lovely. The first challenge for the Meet Me videos, the Get to Know Thy Crewmates, we did like a little study session as a crew, and he just took charge, making notes, making a spreadsheet for everyone. He was he's just a really wonderful person. He liked to cause chaos. I know with him and Bellion and their showmans, it really did really change up that round. And his energy was really missed after he left.
Thank you, Nolita. Taisha, you spent a round with him at least.
Romeo was iconic. First of all, I love Romeo. Romeo kind of saved my ass, and I'll keep saying it because he did. He let me eat him in the last round of that food chain comp. And if he didn't do that, I don't know if I would even still be here, because girl doesn't really do good with tic-tac-toe and shit. So he definitely saved my ass, and I'm appreciative of him. And I really wanted to work with Romeo with his little hell nah, he's iconic. I love him.
Romeo honestly spoke to me the least out of every single person on Calico. Don't know why. I tried my best, and Romeo would just not reply to me for hours and hours at a time, if ever. So it was frustrating on that regard. And I just have to keep messaging, and eventually I just kind of gave up by the time we got to like the merge and swap or whatever. And that's why when we voted for him, I was just straight up with him, and I said, I'm voting you out, because at that point I didn't feel badly. I didn't have anything to hide. It was what it was. And then he said that he told everybody on the tribe about his power, and he was like, I told all of you this would happen, you still voted for me. Like, I never got a message, like, just like every day previously, I didn't get a message from him. So I don't know. It was just frustrating. It's always frustrating when there's like, that one person or, something that just you can't click with no matter what you do. And it happens. And clearly we just didn't get along on that regard, but I have nothing against him personally at all. On a game front, it was, it was what it was. So, and also, but I knew he was also like doing a lot behind the scenes. I knew he and Belly were very, very tight. So for my game, it made a lot of sense for him to go. He had a lot of connections that I was nervous about.
Romeo, love you. Maybe I'll see you at Mayhem this year. XOXO. And the second victim of this crazy, wild night was the Aftershock Tribal Council, where only 5 people in the game were without life rings after being tossed into the ocean, and thus had to attend Tribal Council. And 2 of you were actually there. Let's start with Taisha. You spent a lot of time with Livingston.
Sick. It was sick. That was honestly probably like the hardest thing, because it was like I'm also like fighting for myself. And that was like one of the times like I kind of realized like, we're about to merge, and this is the point where I feel like I can try and get myself adjusted with the other side. So with Livingston, it was like so hard. Cause like during that vote, like I honestly did not expect him to go. So when it actually happened, you know, I'm grateful I stayed and everything, but I was still like very sad to see Livingston go. He is so fun. He is like if you talk to Livingston, like he's such a like amazing person to talk to. Like he's just so funny. And I think anybody that knows anything about Blackbeard, like Livingston, that whole dynamic with like our team, like if Livingston wasn't there, I feel like we would not have had that.
Let's move it over to Zach.
Livingston and I, we barely spoke during that whole earthquake period. I definitely had more conversation with people like Benji and Rachel, Taisha and Max. So if any of the Blackbeard were to go, it definitely was best for me. If it was Livingston, not that I had any say. He almost stayed because in the ring, whatever, you can go over 21 and I got 20 rings. So if I had just gotten 2 more rings, I would have gone to tribal and he wouldn't have, and I don't know what would have happened then. So he was very, very close to making the merge and you know, just not close enough. But people who gave me rings, they know who they are, and they will get what's coming.
And Nolita, you spent at least one round with Livingston.
I did talk to Livingston quite a bit during the earthquake. I found him so engaging during the round where he was taking his shirt off and dancing, and his friends were and Max and Rachel were laughing, and like he gave so much information about the game without even realizing it. So I'm really glad. This is going to sound terrible, but I'm glad that I was able to vote him out during that round before I got to know him more, because I'm pretty sure he would have won me over completely. So I think he was funny and hilarious, and it's good for all 3 of us that he went when he did. I connected with Taisha and I wasn't ready to let her go, so that was my only choice. And it was really hard to navigate because we knew he had an idol. So yeah, fun try. Livy was great.
Love you, Libby. Next, we make the merge. And this was heartbreaking for me to watch because I kind of saw it coming from a mile away, only because obviously I knew the lay of the land, right? And what the possibilities could happen and the word on the street. And it was just heartbreaking because I grew to really love Julia's presence in this game, her energy, and she's marked by an Inuit spot played by Max, and she's sent home over Zach. I don't know why. And Valian. Let's start with Zach.
You know, I also saw it coming from a mile away. I don't think that she had to be marked to be voted out. I you know, even her own allies, people like Valian, had been after her for many rounds. I don't know why, because I don't think that she was after Valian at all, but you know, it was getting around that he was basically telling all of Calico to vote for her for a couple rounds. And then at that point, I think she was gonna go anyway. I don't think the Inuit spot changed that. But no, I really like Julia, and we spoke a lot, and that was definitely just a hard round for me because she was someone I could count on in this game. And so her going, it definitely left me like, okay, well, that's not good. That's not a vote in my favor. So am I just gonna go soon? You know, so I wasn't really sure what to say. So it was definitely a turning point in the game for me. But you know, I counted on her a lot in this game, and yeah, I don't know. It was a hard round.
Let's swing it over to Nolita. She was also a tribe member with Julia for a long time.
Julia and I had a slow burn. I'd say for the first 2.5 weeks, we barely exchanged any messages. I tried hard to connect with her, but there was like a disconnect. But because of one of my other allies, I really worked on my relationship with Julia. And then when it came down to the Alex versus Julia vote, which she didn't know it was an Alex versus Julia vote, we had a really good conversation where we discussed the tribe and where we were at, and we started like a true connection. And I was really going somewhere. I felt like when I saved her in the earthquake, where there was a likelihood of her going home, we really had solidified something. So it was really sad for me when she did get voted out. She's such a powerhouse, and I loved where we ended up. Where in comparison to where I thought we were going to be, I think in my confessionals, I was like, well, Julia can go because she won't talk to me. But then we developed something really great before she left.
Before we came over on the like when we merged and everything, I had also like heard from like people like Julia was like a big threat. So when I came over and I was talking to her, and like she's talking to me like, we were getting to know each other, but I was trying to be cautious because I didn't know. And honestly, after seeing everything, I truly believe she was a big threat, but she was a fun person to get to know. And I'm sad we didn't get more time together. But at that moment, yeah, that was a best option for me.
Thank you, Ty. Love you, Julia. And now we get into our jury. These are your fellow pirates, the people that you've either directly or indirectly had a hand in voting out. One different thing in your gameplay could have completely changed their fates. You guys will be held accountable tomorrow night. So as you reflect on this, really think about these jurors and how you are going to honestly cater your game and your case to try to get the votes from these people that you've come to know. Let's get into it. JB3, the only person to go by initials and the literal number. Let's start this off with Ty.
JB3 was like, before we even met him, was like so iconic over here, like on our side. Like when he came over to visit, like he's like said no one talked to him, but like when he left, like he became like a like prized possession for Blackbeard. Like we love JP3. And then when we finally merged and got to like talk to him and everything, it was like so dope. I'm kind of sad because I feel like I didn't get to like really connect with him on a personal level as much as I would have liked. So that's sad, but from like every conversation we did have, I really enjoyed his presence.
Move it over to Nolita.
JP and I had an interesting relationship. I loved talking to him. He was on so many planes, and he would buy Wi-Fi, and I would like tell him jokes and he'd tell me about his bad flight connections. And I enjoyed talking to him on a personal level so much. I got the sense very early on that he didn't really have an interest in working with me. But I still like adored chatting with him. I love talking about his cat. He loves his cat. I love that so much. His vote out was a big turning point for me, because I felt like I was forced into it in terms of certain circumstances, and I had to make big decisions and choose a particular path due to that vote. And I really missed JB. I think he was harder on himself than he needed to be. He's got such a beautiful personality. and I think he sold himself short sometimes. But I just really loved getting to know him, and that he would take the time to like respond to me, even though he voted me out once, which is fine. Like, we didn't have a working relationship, but we had like a really good personal, genuine connection, which I appreciated very much. And he was like, just talked so much. He gave so much information all the time. It was lovely. That's all I'm saying.
And Zach, round out your thoughts on JP3.
I love GB3. I don't know, if Calico had lost more pre-merge, I think he would have gone very soon. I just didn't really see, you know, it just seemed like the tribe was not a big fan of him, but I was a big fan of his. We spoke quite a decent amount, and I didn't want him to go. I was working really hard to get the votes for him to stay. I was trying to get Nay on board. I was trying to get everyone on board, and shit didn't work out. Nolita definitely helped me out there, informed me that it's not happening. That was definitely just a vote that I felt like I was being manipulated, and it was a big turning point. Just for me, just like Nolita said, it was a big turning point. I think for both of us, honestly, just because I think it showed that we kind of had to switch up how we were playing and what we were doing and what was going on. And I felt very blindsided by the entire situation. Not that he left, but by the circumstances with which he left. So it was a big vote. But I personally really like JB, really like talking to him, and he was missed.
Thank you, Zach. And we'll make our way over to the next Calico member voted out at the merge, third in the row. This one's near and dear to my heart because Bree was one of the interviews pre-game that I fell in love with, so I was like super rooting for her. And then she got body bagged. Nolita.
You're starting with me. Bree was probably one of my strongest initial connections in this game. Her name did come up early on the first vote, but I did not want her to go. Her name came up during the food chain one, but I did not, I did what I could to keep her in the game because she was one of my strongest connections. So the round that she went, it was probably one of the hardest rounds due to the circumstances of what was going on, because realizing that no matter what our personal connection is, I love her dearly. I love her so much. But realizing that my standing in or where I stood in terms of her game was not where I thought it was, really did change the trajectory of how I played the game. And voting her out that round was integral to me being here right now. As sad as it is to say, because she is amazing. She's a powerhouse. I put her as in the best position to win for that survey because I felt like she was. Yeah.
Thank you, Nolita. Zach.
Yeah, that round was really hard. The whole thing was really shitty, the circumstances, regarding the whole thing. But my relationship with Brie was a really slow burn. At the start, we didn't really talk very much, and then I think once she started to lose people that she didn't want to see go, such as Venus and then Romeo, I think things kind of really changed. And we started talking really more, and I honestly started to trust her a lot, and I got really good with her, which is why when all the shit went down with the round prior with JB leaving, it really hurt me and upset me. I really felt betrayed by that more than anything else in this game at any other point. And so after that, I was very upset, and I was very much so in favor of getting rid of her at that point. I don't know why she did that to me or tried to do that to me. That's something that I am very curious about and wanting answers on, because I wouldn't have done something like that to her. So it was very interesting. But yeah, her leaving was definitely really, really crucial for my game. She was very, she was in a great spot socially, had a lot of connections on the original tribe as well as just, people from Blackbeard. So it was a lot. So I definitely, I needed her to go at that point for my own game.
I love Brie. She was someone that when we did like the little fake one that I had connected with, and she was one of the people that when I came into like the merge, I really wanted to work with, and I did. It kind of was like really hard. I did not want to vote Brie out, and I didn't, but I did not want to see her go. It's just like that whole situation, that round was just too much, and like hands were like kind of tied. I couldn't really do anything, but I definitely did not want her to go. And I just think, as far as like game wise, I feel like that was like another turning point for me when she left.
Love you, Bree. Thank you, finalists. Letitia, we're going to start with you on the one and only Maximilian.
Yeah, me and Max, like from the start of the game, like I connected with Max. But I also saw like Max was like, he said this was his first org. So he came into this like, and I love it because when you're in this community, when you first come in, like just seeing that, and you can see how excited he was to play this game. And he's so smart. And just seeing Max, he's so sweet, but like he'll like spike up and get like this like little anger for the game. And like, it's like, I love to see it. I just knew Max was like a big threat though, like from the jump. And it was so fun working with him. And he was so smart. And honestly, I would say that the Max vote out, like once we got to like merge, like all those vote outs, like it just got worse and worse and worse. Like it was like so hard to do every single one. And that was like one of the ones that really like kind of sparked it for me, because that was like the first Blackbeard member that had to go, like when we got into merge.
Thank you, Ty. Nolita?
Well, Max. Max and I, we had a pretty good connection. We really bonded over the educational system, believe it or not. I got to read a paper he wrote, and we had a really good conversation. We did lose communication where he stopped responding to me. And in that respect, when I was the Blackbeard target and I used my immunity idol and he did go home, obviously that was essential to my game to stay, which meant that he did go home. But he was so smart and so engaging, and he was in a great spot in his tribe. But I think him leaving in that round did break up something in Blackbeard that allowed us to connect with people on that tribe in a different way, because he was such a cohesive part of that tribe, such a driving force. And he was just so entertaining. I loved how excited he was with his Inuit spot. When he told me about his power and that I was going to go up as a pawn, he's telling me how nice I was, and then didn't put me up as a pawn. And so like we had some really good bonding moments there. And I was just sorry that for me to stay, that meant that he had to go.
Max, I really liked Max personally. And I think that if we had been on the original tribes together, we would have got along really, really well and worked really, really well together. But obviously that wasn't the case. And I don't think that I was in any sort of end game plans for Max whatsoever. So in that sense, he had to go. Splitting up Rachel and Max was obviously, an important thing to do at this point. Max was very upset when he left, obviously. But it had to be done. And he seemed to forget that he had targeted me at the first round of merge. He seemed to forget that he put a target on my back, and the reason for that was because I was honest with him, And so it just always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Of course, in a game sense, nothing personally, but I was honest with him the first vote of merge and told him I'm not doing Julia, and in return I got targeted. So it was unfortunate and it rubbed me the wrong way. And after that, I just obviously couldn't trust him fully, and I just knew that I wasn't going to be in his endgame plans. He wasn't in mine, I wasn't in his, and that's what it was. So it was all game, but on a personal level, he was great, and I really hope I see him in another game someday, because I think if we can start from the start together, I think we can make it really fun together.
Moving on to the one we all miss so much. I just miss talking to him so much. Velian.
I agree with you, Sandy.
Taisha, let's start with your thoughts on Velian.
Velian was the first person from Calico to reach out to me. And I will say Velian and Nolita were like the first two that I feel like I actually connected with. They were the first two that try to make me feel welcome. And then obviously everybody started telling me things about Velian and everything, and it got into that. But honestly, Velian was so funny. He would come into the chat with the Ty. I can't even do it because he the way he would say my name, I can't even pronounce it. I don't know, Taisha, and then he would draw it out good morning. Velian was so funny. I love Velian. Even just his commitment to the game made him fun. And although it was just crazy in general, Velian was just a fun person to be around, and I enjoyed playing with him.
Thank you, Ty. Zach?
Velian was probably the first person in the whole game that I actually felt like I connected to, but he was very good at that. I feel like he connected really well to basically the entire Calico tribe except for Bree, which is why he was always after Bree. I know he was really close to Alex. I know he was really close to Romeo. I know that he was, saying stuff to Nolita, and he was connecting well with me. And, there was a lot. And so he was a big threat. I always had my eye on him. But, I trusted him as much as I could. Unfortunately, I knew that he was going around trying to get Julia out, even though he and I and Julia were all aligned. So it just definitely made me wary of him, unfortunately. And so when it came down to this point in the game, as much as I absolutely adore him on a personal level, because I truly do, it just, I didn't trust him going into the end game. If he had to cut me to get to the end, he would have, and I respect it, but I knew he would have done it. And, I needed to move forward with people who I felt like had my back more. That was, the two that I'm with here.
Velian, oh my God. I love him so much. He was, like Zach said, probably the first person I connected with. I remember just the very first night talking about how much I hate being in group chats, and he helped me get off so I could go to bed, because I didn't know how to get out of the Calico group chat. And our first conversation about sausages and talking about poop, to our last conversations, really hardcore gaming. He really understood how I played. We just connected on a whole other level where I could almost, even with all of his craziness and messiness and making deals with Benji to be safe so that I end up being the target, I still loved him every moment. And I knew that underneath all of that messiness that he did have my back. He proved it in situations, even with all of the other craziness, where he did try to protect me. And I knew a lot of people saw us as a dynamic duo. Maybe they didn't, but they knew we were in the middle. And I just adored every moment. Even when he had the cryptic map and he could only talk in emojis, I decided to only talk to him in emojis. So we had emoji conversations back and forth with little happy faces and sunny. And he was just, Velian. I missed him. I kept reaching for my phone to message Velian after he left. And without him, I do not think this game would have been the same at all. Just such a great energy. Love Velian.
Velian's so good. I agree with that. Couldn't imagine this game without him. And he was a replacement. So Just goes to show sometimes we make bad
He was
decisions
the
as
heart of
predictions.
iSurvivor, honestly. I believe he was like the heart of both tribes, honestly.
So good. Zach, you want to kick us off with the captain of Blackbeard? Everybody knows him, Benji.
Benji, I don't even know. Like, we just, I don't know. I tried my best to connect with Benji because of Taisha, because Taisha was good with Benji and wanted me to be good with Benji, and I tried my best, but I just felt like I was always giving information and not getting anything. And it was frustrating. And we never had an alliance. We never had a deal. We never had anything. And you know, it was just a lot. And basically, I think that there was a lot of mutual feelings regarding Benji going around. I know that Nolita felt this similarly as I did. Valiant felt similarly as I did. And then eventually even Rachel and Taisha seemed to feel similarly about the situation. And you know, and just like how I guess, you know, big of a threat Benji was and how Benji kind of had a lot of power and was in a really good spot. And, you know, he would always share information with people, you know. I'll never forget when, what was it? He like called me out of nowhere on his break one day and was panicking because I was told, I think he said something to Valiant. Valiant told to me, I told to Taisha in confidence, and then Taisha told Benji, like, Zach knows you said this. So then Benji calls me and he's like, I only said it to like see if it would get back to you. And I'm like, I don't like, well, it did. So after that, it was just, there were always just things that I would hear and see, and it just was hard to trust him. I really tried just because I knew that Taisha was good with him, but eventually I couldn't do it anymore. But yeah, he was a really big threat. I don't know why he was so hard on himself when he left. I mean, I think it was just because we all saw him as a threat. I mean, I would talk with JV well before merge about how Benji was clearly at the top of his tribe, and come merge was going to be a really big threat. And I think that was absolutely the truth, and I'll stand by it to this day. I think that he was in a really great spot for a really long time.
Thank you, Zach. Ty.
Man, Benji was like, after I would say name, it was like me and Benji on Blackbeard. It was just like I was so close to Benji. It was hard once we got closer to the end, because not only did I see him as threat level, I felt like people wouldn't respect me if they thought that I was under Benji. And it was hard to do, to get him out, but I just didn't want my game constantly being linked with his. But he is like such an amazing person. Like, he's so encouraging. He's always, listen, Benji's gonna make sure you talk to him. Benji's gonna make sure you're there. Like, literally, Benji made sure he got something from me, a hi, a hello, a bye, a 2-second. He'd be like, boo, hop in the chat. And I would say, like, Benji, like, he was always there for me whenever I needed anything, and I will always be appreciative of him. And like Zach said, I don't want him to be down on himself at all, because Benji, he played the fuck out of this game. I mean, he did his shit, and he should be proud of himself. And I'm telling you, if he would have got to the end, Benji would have definitely been like top contender. Like, obviously, like, he ran through that. And like he said, he was the captain of Blackbeard for a reason, and he carried that title so well. He did his thing.
Thank you, Ty. And Nolita.
From almost probably the first time I met him, when him and JB did the swap, and he kind of, this is how I say it, he set up court in Calico in the group chat to meet us all and started interviewing us about how we love playing games and where do we come from. I knew he was a threat. I think as soon as when they did the wellness checks, they said, who's a threat? I said, Benji. When we hit merge and he would talk to me, and he was so charismatic and so fluid in how he would ask for information, but I'm afraid I made him listen to me talk about my day and dogs, because I didn't want, like, I had to, like, the things that I had to give him information wise, I knew he would use, because he was so smart, so charismatic, and I had a sense that he was very much in control in his tribe. And so when I think Valiant actually was like, we should do an alliance with Benji and Taisha, I was like, nah, because Benji's gonna make me prove my loyalty by voting out Calico. This is not gonna happen. But he was definitely, I saw as my biggest competition to get to this point. And unfortunately, voting out Benji, I was his target that round. I know this, it's okay. I distracted him by building right beside him. I knew I was his target. But getting him, I hate to say getting him out, but voting him out was integral to me being here right now. He was just that good.
Moving on to Glory Spot, 5th place, the one and only Queen Rachel. Love you, Rachel. Let's start this off with Ty. You two were the final Blackbeards to get there.
Rachel. Me and Rachel actually, like, very first or second day in the game. Not Benji. Bobby came to me and Rachel, and we're like, so Benji and like Anthony are like saying y'all are floaters. Like, they're saying y'all are at the bottom. Y'all are at the bottom. And me and Rachel, like, Rachel, can you be like, we had this plan. That's Rachel's the one came to the plan, because the vote was like on Rachel. Literally came to me and was like, we can flip this. And we got like a whole group together to flip the vote on Anthony instead of Rachel, because Rachel was going to be the vote for the first round. And so we flipped the vote and got out Anthony instead. So like ever since then, you know, all throughout all our alliances, me and Rachel are like the two girls. And she's just so fun and funny. All of us, you know, from us drinking toilet water to the 24-hour challenge, all of it, all the way down to freaking marriage is when everything just got like crazy. I mean, Rachel was like iconic, and I knew for a fact I could not beat Rachel in the end. Like, for a fact, there's no way. I mean, if Rachel would have got here to the end, like, it would have been over. And she was just such a joy to be around, though. She's so funny, and like, you can talk to her. Seeing like drunk Rachel, drunk Zach, I don't know which one's better, but like, it's just entertaining. I love Rachel, and I'm glad I met her.
Thank you, Ty. Nolita?
Rachel and I were a slow burn. When the earthquake happened, I tried to connect with her, and I would get like nothing back. I think my confessionals, I was like, Rachel, still nothing. And then after the auction, we had a chat, just talking about film and life. And like, I was like, oh my God, this person, like, I just fell in love with her. And she was a person that I reached out to with information, which ended up going back to, you know, in a circle, telephone style, and it did break trust there, which did halt, you know, and also her voting me out the next round, that also didn't help. But she was like a dynamic, engaging, smart comp beast, really good at flipping things. Like, she flipped Jazz at the end trying to get Zach out. She was a force, and I feel lucky to have met her. I think, like Zach was saying about Max, I think that if Rachel and I had been on the same tribe from the beginning, I think our stories would have been very different, because she was just, I just connected with her that much. Voting her out was really hard. and telling her I was thankful that I had the immunity that round so that I could have that conversation with her, because I really respected her. I respected her game. But I knew in the end that she did not have my best interest at heart. I actually had to watch the final 8 where she was like joyfully evicting me like 2 times just to give me the courage to like vote her out because I loved her that much. So yeah.
I adore Rachel. You know, everyone says that, you know, we knew each other, and I always say we didn't, but the truth is we didn't. But you know, I don't know where that came from, but you know, it was just really, you know, it was really great to meet her. I wish that we had been on the same tribe because I honestly feel like we would have worked really, really well together. We connected really well personally. It sort of merged, then things kind of died down. And then once Max left, she was kind of all too enthusiastic to work with me. And I think a lot of that was just because Max was gone and she felt like she needed people. And I was more than happy to work with her. I felt like I couldn't beat her in the end. She had a great story, just a great personality. If I was injured, I would have voted for her. And that's what I told her when I told her that I had to vote her out. And I felt really, really, really badly. Probably that was the hardest vote of the game for me. And then I heard she was trying to get the vote on me, so I didn't feel as badly. And you know, thankfully y'all two came through for me and it worked out. But she was definitely a really, really big threat. And I am just, you know, very, very glad to have met her and been able to play this game with her.
Love you, Rachel. And the end, the final juror, person y'all sent packing to walk the plank last night, Jazz. Start off with Nolita.
Jazz was someone who, when I watched the Meet Me video, she was the one video where I was like, I am going to connect with this person. This person has the same philosophy as me on games. And I felt like we missed out because I don't know if she was in other alliances or whatnot, but we just couldn't quite connect. Though after Bree left, I do feel like we started having those connections and making a true bond with each other. And I appreciated every moment. She was such a genuine soul. And like there's a moment in the game, which I'm not going to share here, but where she, it was completely separate from game. And it was like a personal human moment that I really needed in that moment to be able to move forward in a game mode. And I'll forever be thankful for her for giving me permission to play in a really hard moment. And I think she is wonderful. And I was very sad for her to go.
Taking Nolita. Smile. Taisha.
Me and Jazz go way back to my very first org that I played. And I honestly kind of felt like I owed her for my last org because like the way she went out, like I had no control over it. And I just felt bad, like we didn't get the chance to work the way we did, because Jazz is a wonderful human being. Like she's a wonderful person, wonderful friend. And so when I saw her in this game, I was like so excited. So when we came to like other sides, just like me and Jazz's conversations are like always like amazing. And honestly, like that vote was so hard because I had made my promises and my obligations and I wanted to stick to them. And I'm happy we all got as far as we did. To be honest with you, it was like amazing. Like we were able to do all that together. But she is such an amazing person and just so understanding, like forgiving. And I will continue to be friends with her on the outside of this because she's an amazing person and she's a fellow Tennessean like myself. And, you know, we're just amazing. But I love Jazz so much. She's so sweet and I love it.
Jess is so nice. And we never had a bad moment. The only rocky part was when she tried to vote me out at 5, and I was never mad at her for it. She was just so nice. And we were always upfront with each other about every vote, and just we just always had a lot of honesty between the two of us. I was definitely worried at times that she was in other alliances and stuff, because we didn't talk too much game the whole time, and I'm sure she had her alliances as I had mine, and so I never really knew where she stood. Sometimes some votes we would talk a lot of game, and then other votes we just really wouldn't talk at all. But on a personal level, we had great conversations about Marvel and movies, and just so much. And there were a couple calls there that we had that really lasted a really long time, and it was just us calmly just hanging out and talking and just getting to know each other personally. And she's just such a joy, and I absolutely loved getting to know her. And what she said yesterday at tribal council, and just how graciously she took being voted out, and how much she said she was appreciative of this game, and how winning wouldn't have added anything, and how she's just grateful for the whole thing. It was such a nice moment, and it just really shows her the person. And I don't know, I'm very glad to have met her.
Jazz, love you, mean it. Glad to see you earlier in the Rites of
That was the
Passage.
saddest vote off, I believe. The last one was the saddest one. Yeah. So Lolita, you just made me cry a little bit just watching you. But everything y'all said about her is 110. That's how I feel about her as a person and as a player. She did an amazing job.
Incredible, Jazz. We love you, highly respect you. Thank you for gracing us with your presence this season. And that's your look back. You just had time to reflect on your experience here sailing the Caribbean and all the people that impacted your experience, impacted the maneuvers and the methods that you had to take to get here. Tomorrow, it's the finale. Gear up. I hung out with that Jurley earlier, and y'all have a fight ahead of you.
Oh yeah, they're not playing. They're not playing. I got the hosted. They're not playing. They're going to grill you guys. So bring your A game.
Yeah. You better use this opportunity to reflect and really know your game, own your game, and really convey in the moment why you deserve to win. It's only one of you that's going to walk away with the title of Soul Survivor. I wish you all the best of luck. Get a really good night's sleep, and we will see you tomorrow night for the final tribal council. You can head back to camp.